Hello, everyone. It's Tracy Daviero from the Canadian Association of VAs and your VA mentor, and I want to welcome you today to our webinar. I'm super excited to have Barb here with us today. I met Barb. She's an anxiety, stress, and overwhelm specialist. Like, who doesn't have this in their daily life, never mind in our business. I met her at a recent event here in Ottawa and really just stopped at her booth to chat about what she did, and to actually ask her if she used a VA because that's sort of what I do whenever I get out and about and start to talk to people about getting support in their business. And as we chatted a little bit more, I talked to Barb about how virtual assistants work and how the difficulties that we endure, and we ended up talking, realizing that she had a lot of skills and a lot of expertise that she could share with us. And so small business owners or entrepreneurs or anything, I think it's really, really important to be able to manage the stress and manage particularly the overwhelm whenever we tend to do a lot of things on our own in our business. So I really want to welcome Barb here today. I so appreciate you taking your time to share your expertise, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself and everything like that. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. And I know Barb has a great presentation lined up for us today. So we will go ahead and get that done. Welcome, Barb.
Well, thank you so much, Tracy. I'm so excited to be here today. Poor Tracy, she's been hearing from me often. I'm actually in Calgary, so I've flipped around a few time zones because I'm from New Brunswick, and so I'm moving New Brunswick, Ottawa, Calgary time zone. So I'm in a hotel, I'm here on work, and so I am just so appreciative of everybody taking time today. I know that it's a busy time of the year, just like any other day for you, and I really want to be able to provide some assistance around stress, anxiety, overwhelm. So as Tracy mentioned, my name is Barb Fletcher, and I'm a breakthrough specialist. And today, what I want to share with you is some scientific techniques that, if you use them, will actually help reduce the stress in your body and in your mind. Perhaps you've been getting headaches, or maybe you just don't feel well. These techniques are going to help you build resilience for both your mind and body. So as I mentioned, I live in New Brunswick with my family. That's where I grew up, the eldest of 3 girls on a farm. And so no boys, so I got to learn firsthand what it was like to be an entrepreneur. I recently finished a 35-year career working with the province of New Brunswick, and am now moving on to an encore career supporting people, helping them with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. 20 years ago, I became very motivated to help manage my stress and my anxiety. There was lots of illness in my family, including my husband, who developed stage 4 kidney cancer and actually recovered. And so all of that illness with others, along with the fact that I suffered with jaw pain, and I went the usual route. I used medication and, had devices to help with the grinding. And I'm happy to report today that I am pain-free. I use no meds, no devices. And what I use to manage stress is really the strategies. And so I'm dedicating my life to helping others so that they don't have to live with that pain. So I want to talk a little bit about why we haven't ventured into managing our stress this way. And it really has to do a lot with the fact that we as a society rely heavily on a medical model. We've been interested in allowing someone else to provide us with perhaps medicine, perhaps therapies, and we're actually wanting them to fix us. And so what I want to, I guess, inspire you today is to think about the possibility of how can you take control of that in a very different way. One of the things I should have checked was, can people just let me know if you can actually hear me? Just, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Just let me know. Is everybody hearing me okay? Okay, great. Okay, let's just put that down at the bottom. Okay, great. So when you think about virtual assistants, 20 years ago, I suspect that term wasn't even one that people reflected on. And so there has been so much change. And I know that each and every one of you is experiencing that level of change every single day. So when you think about stress and anxiety, it's actually a $1 trillion industry. I can't even imagine how big that number is. And I know that where we're spending our money to support stress and anxiety is really about allowing others to fix the problems. And so what I want to do is I want to be here for you today. And I know that you can actually feel so much better and you can actually manage the stress. So it's time for you to thrive. You deserve to feel good and to do well. And I want to show you how. So before we get started, one of the things I want you to think about is if you were driving a car and you were, driving along at 50 miles an hour, and you had a couple of options. One of them would be to put your foot on the brake and actually come to a stop, or the second would be to put the car in neutral and let it coast. I'd like to know, and feel free to put a note in the chat as to which one do you think might feel easier for you. Anybody have any thoughts? Whether it's the brake or just being in neutral. So do you think that if you put your foot on the brake, do you think that it would shake you up a bit? Or is that the easiest way to make a change? Exactly, Jules. Putting your foot on the brake is really abrupt. Your seatbelt is going to come into contact, and so what we want to do is find a way for you to be neutral. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to take a few minutes just to teach you. It's a technique called the inner ease. And what this will do is it's going to allow you to maximize the time we have together by being more present and by actually hearing and integrating all of the information that I'm able to share today. So I want you, there's a couple of steps. The first step is I want you to place your attention in the area of your heart. And so for somebody, if this is new to you, what you're going to do is you could put your hand over your heart area. If otherwise, just focus your area there. The second step to this is going to be actually imagine that your breath is coming in and out of your heart area. And so I'll guide you through this. If you can place your feet on the floor. And so I want you to heart focus. I want you to breathe through your nose and perhaps a little bit deeper. And then exhale through your nose as well. So let's give that a go. Heart focus and heart breath. You can try this several times. Heart focus, heart breath. Okay. So if people could just give me an indication in the chat of, how did that make you feel? What did anything shift in your body? Did you feel, perhaps any kind of sensations? Right. Thanks for sharing, everybody. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a quiet space inside from what's going on outside in the chaos. And so this technique can actually be used throughout your day just to quiet down the chaos that could be going on. And we'll give that another practice at the end. So I'd love to hear from you why you chose to be a virtual assistant. Can people share with me a little bit in the chat? Did you choose it because it's your passion? Perhaps you chose it because it fit in well with your family. Best work-life balance and for the family. Nice. So wanting to work on your own, more freedom. Lost your job twice. Work life used to be in-house assistant, now moved to virtual. Nice. So each of those experiences and the rationale for why you become a virtual assistant, it really has a different emotion attached to it. And so what we'll do is just, we'll throw that into the backdrop to make sure that we're paying attention to that and understanding, when we do something that's basically out of necessity, then it feels very different than something that makes us passionate and excited about. So when you think about how you started your day today, how did you feel? Were you excited for the day? Did you carry some things forward, some emotions from yesterday? Sometimes we start the day and we've got a bit of a running start. We're carrying forward experiences that negative or positive that will build momentum in the day. And so one of the things I want you to think about as we go through is how do we create that separation from the end of your day so that you're not carrying those things forward. So let's talk about emotions and why they should matter to you. When you think about our subconscious and the stories it tells us, and for me, I love to work with people, and webinars aren't my daily experience, and so I really have to draw upon a lot of energy to do these, because it's not necessarily in my greatest comfort zone. And so I'm sure that you experience those kinds of things every day. And so when you think about your subconscious and the stories it's telling you, if you think about in your kitchen and you start your dishwasher and it's running, and when you start it, you actually hear the dishwasher, and then probably 5 minutes later you don't hear that noise anymore. And that's kind of what our subconscious is doing. It's carrying on a conversation in the background that we may or may not be aware of. So for example, this week I was working with someone who said to me, she was really feeling overwhelmed. She had so many things that she was doing for everybody else, and she just she didn't understand it. She thought she needed to stop doing some things. And what we ended up, after we unpacked that a bit, we ended up understanding that it was really more about she wasn't finding any joy in what she was doing. And as soon as we unpacked that, then all of the emotions that were attached to this overwhelm dissipated, and she then knew exactly where to start to live an easier life. Does that resonate with anybody? Anybody have their subconscious telling stories on them? Yeah. So another example is, have you ever had, when you're at work, it is hard to stop, Janice. So have you ever had a pain in your body that there's really no rationale for? Perhaps it's in your back, perhaps it's in your head. Recently we live outside of the city, and so I was driving home from a meeting, and I had this huge pain in my back. And I have, I'm pretty fit, and I don't have back pain, and I couldn't understand it. And so we're driving home, and I thought about, when I got home, I thought, maybe I should go and take something for that pain. And instead I decided, I'll work with that. And what was going on that day was, I had 3 clients, and we were doing some different things than I had done before. And it was a bit of a stretch for me. And what happened was, after I finished the first client, the pain disappeared. And so what it really was just about the stress that I was feeling. And so our body, our emotions are going on, and our body is trying to explain to us, through pain, the best way it knows how, that things are amiss. So has anybody ever had an experience like that? Yeah. So just, can you tell me a little bit more about what might have happened to you? You mentioned that you have it often, if you're able to share. Yeah. So let's just see. Upset tummy, yes. My emotions seems to follow my projects. Oh, yes. So have you ever had a bad day? And when I began to think about that, I thought about, for you, it really was, when you leave the office, you're actually just walking down the hall, likely. And so that's an even bigger challenge. And so that, I thought about, how do you separate that feeling that you have? And some of you had talked about that earlier, about letting things go, and because you care about your clients, and how challenging that is, to actually release that when you walk down the hall. And so, what would it be like if at the end of your work session you knew just what to do to release all of those emotions? So I bet you've been under the gun, from time to time, to get things done, and it seems harder to get your focus. I know yesterday, when I was doing some prep for this, I could easily find myself distracted. And so how, I'd be interested to know how you refocus, what you do to get back on track. Anybody have any tricks that they use to get back on track when perhaps their emails, or the phone, or the dog barks? What do you do to get back on track, to stay focused? Step outside for fresh air. Absolutely. So the technique, just keep in mind, the squirrel in my head is always running. Yeah, I have that squirrel too. Cup of tea, get grounded through prayer. Yes. Perfect. So it sounds like, you folks, because out of necessity, you're having to practice this. You've found a few techniques, and I'm hoping that I can offer you some more today. So when I was thinking about working with, doing work for others, I was reflecting back on when I worked for the province of New Brunswick, and in a 6-month period, I actually worked for 5 different bosses, and I thought that that I was pretty good at communicating, but that really challenged me because every single one of them was expecting a different style. They like things a particular way. That some of them like details, some of them didn't, and I was constantly adapting. And so I was thinking about the work that you do, and each job that you do as a virtual assistant probably has a different person attached to it, and they all are expecting you to fit how they appreciate their communication. So, if you think about what it would be like if you had tools that you could use that always, so that you always got that communication down pat with your customer, how would that feel? And the last thing I want to share is about losing sleep over work. And I know that that's one of the things that probably challenges me as much as anything. When I'm getting ready for a presentation, I'm actually rehearsing the presentation. It almost seems like in my subconscious. So, and I find myself having to use these tools actually to quiet that chatter so that I can go to sleep. So now what I'd like to do, and I know that Tracy actually sent out this video, but what I'd like to do is just share this quick video on resilience before we continue.
The importance of resilience. Most people want to have more energy at the end of the day. How much resilience we have plays a big role in that. Resilience commonly is thought of as the ability to bounce back after a challenging situation, but a newer, broader definition has emerged. HeartMath defines resilience as the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, adversity, or challenge. When you are resilient, not only can you bounce back faster in challenging situations, but you also have more ability to avoid getting in those situations in the first place.
Whoops, sorry.
Now that's energy efficient. Being resilient is like having a fully charged inner battery. You have greater capacity and ability to remain calm, think clearly, and be in control of your mind and emotions. You can roll with the punches more easily and flow through challenges, like a surfer skillfully riding a big wave rather than getting wiped out. His inner poise and balance help him succeed. There are 4 primary areas of resilience: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We expend and renew energy in each area every day. If we have low energy in one area, it can affect the others. It is the emotional area where most people drain their inner batteries unnecessarily and waste energy. You can build and sustain your resilience by learning and using energy management skills. With practice, you'll increase your resilience and have more energy reserves when you need it most, such as maintaining your cool or ability to focus when too much activity and information is coming your way too fast. In other words, the greater your resilience capacity, the greater your ability to maintain your composure and stay in charge of your emotions and actions. A more scientific term for this is self-regulation. As it turns out, there's a direct connection between what the heart is doing and our ability to self-regulate. The heart rate of a healthy, resilient person actually changes with every heartbeat. This is called heart rate variability, or HRV. HRV is influenced by our emotions. You can actually see if you're draining or renewing your energy and self-regulation capacity by looking at the pattern of HRV, your heart rhythms. Emotions such as frustration, Impatience and anxiety deplete our energy reserves and show up on a computer monitor as an irregular, disorganized HRV pattern. Scientists refer to this type of heart rhythm pattern as being incoherent, a sign that the brain and nervous system are out of sync. This is like driving a car with one foot on the accelerator and the other foot on the brake at the same time. Who would want to do that? It makes for a very jerky car ride, wastes gas, and puts extra wear and tear on a car. On the other hand, renewing emotions like appreciation, courage, and compassion create a more ordered, harmonious pattern, indicating the brain and nervous system are more in sync. Scientists call this a coherent heart rhythm. When you are in a coherent state, you are increasing your resilience and ability to manage yourself. That adds energy to your inner battery. Here's the bottom line. Scientifically speaking, when we are in a coherent state, the neural signals the heart sends to the brain improve the functioning of brain centers involved in decision-making, creativity, and how we perform. No wonder so many elite athletes, military and law enforcement personnel, and others want to get into a coherent state these days. Practicing heart math's resilience-building tools and technologies help stop energy drain and builds up our energy reserves and resilience. It's what heart math calls intelligent energy management.
Okay, let's stop the share. Okay, so what we heard there is really about how do we manage stress and how do we able to bounce back and regain composure. And so, you know, I'd be interested to hear from people in the group if they're open to sharing is, you know, how do you manage stress? Do you feel like you're able to bounce back, or do you feel like sometimes it lasts a little longer than you would have liked? Anybody interested in sharing? Exercise helps for sure. Up and down. Yoga and breathing helps a lot for sure. Yeah, and so stress and anxiety, you know, are closely tied together. And I recently heard somebody refer to fear and anxiety in the same context, in that fear is like the pat of butter, and then anxiety is like when the knife that spreads it all around. So one of the things that with the work that I do, it really is helpful in quieting down that anxiety, and I've worked with a number of people who the knife, I like that, yeah. So it really does. I've worked with someone who is an EMT, and they always are having that cortisol reaction, that high stress. And so it was able to help them come down. So speaking of stress points, you know, I know as a solopreneur that you, when I sat to look at what those stress points were, I thought of things like scheduling. You're probably putting lots of effort into making sure everything gets done at the right time and it meets the person's needs. You know, all of the communication that you're actually doing with the variety of people, including your family and other relationships, require you just to be constantly adjusting. And I don't know about you, but if you have some, you feel quite comfortable being introverted, all of that takes lots and lots and lots of energies. So, you know, if you think about, we know that being efficient really translates into getting more work done, and actually translates into, you know, greater compensation, more money for you. And so that all rests on your shoulders. And if, you know, if you're the stories that we're telling ourselves, create added stress there, it's even more difficult for you to do that. I was also thinking about, making decisions and how challenging that can be. I know that, there's nobody sitting beside you that can provide you the answer to a question. So I'm sure that can be an energy drain for sure. And I think about working from home, that, that there is not the separation from being at home and actually going to a job that we sometimes take for granted. And just like I said that 20 years ago, the term virtual assistant was probably brand new. Back then, how do you stay on top of trends? How do you know the changes and what things are shifting? And how do you just, always remain current with that? I know that, the work that I do and the social media and how I connect with people, every day there seems to be something new. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I can go down the rabbit hole and lose myself for a few hours. So what I want to share with you is really that stress is going to happen. There's not, it's real. And I liken it to a bottle of pop. And so if you think about the bottle of pop, you shake that bottle of pop, and if you were to loosen the top, actually if you were to take the top off, it's going to spill all over everywhere, which is essentially what happens when we don't necessarily know how to manage stress. So what I want you to understand is, I want you to understand that if you're that bottle of pop, I want you two things. I want you to be able to loosen the top to allow that fizz to gently come out, so it doesn't turn out to be difficult conversations and relationships with others. And then I want you as well to actually be able to have that top completely off, so that you know that if you got shaken, it's not going to create a huge splatter. And so that, with some of the techniques, I think we can make that happen for you, because I know that the stress is real, and you're managing even more things than some of the other of us that are taking for granted. So the stress is accumulated. It's accumulated over time. It didn't just happen, yesterday or the day before. And what I do know is that the tools and techniques that I am able to work with actually do make a difference, and they make a difference quickly. And why I can tell you that is that, after practicing these tools for maybe just a week, you are actually going to feel better. And I can say that with certainty, because every single person I've ever worked with will report that after a week, they feel better. Now, if you think about exercising, and you're going to the gym, and you're walking on the treadmill, usually after a week, it takes a whole lot longer than that to actually see a difference. So what you will see with this practice is, just practicing for 5 minutes morning and night, you'll see a big difference in both your emotional awareness and your resilience, your ability to bounce back. So let's do just another couple of minutes of inner ease, and then I have something I'd like to share with you. Okay, so I want you to focus in the area of your heart, and imagine that the breath is flowing in and out of your heart area. You can breathe a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. And we'll do this just for a couple of minutes. Okay. So how's everybody doing? Everybody still with me? Show me in the chat if you're still there. Great. Thanks. Thanks. So what I have to share with you today is it's special. It's just for virtual assistants. It's I've customized a program, and this program would begin before Christmas. We would do a couple of sessions before and a couple right after. And I'm going to have 12 spots. And Tracy, if you could just put up on the screen, there we go. So here's what I have for you. So and Tracy is actually going to distribute this on my behalf after we finish today. And so it's a special session that you will, I think, find very effective in managing your emotions. You'll actually learn how to recognize what the emotions are and how they're impacting your body. And in fact, you know, if we liken it back to that bottle of pop, we'll be able to take the lid off so that it doesn't bubble over. So I have 12 spots, and the cost will be $97. And so I'm going to leave that with you. Tracy has been so gracious in sharing my information with you all, and I'd love to connect. So in the email that you'll receive, there's an email from my address, so you can reach out to me. And right now, I would love to answer questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barb. It's really funny to think of all of the things, you know, you asked about how our day went, how our morning started. And for me, it was, I'm just going to show my video again. For me, you know, it was, I hit the ground running, like I think most of us do. And yes, I'll stop the screen share and I'll put us up again. And then I'll put the link back to that. And as Barb explained, I will send that out as well. So, but yeah, I hit the ground running most mornings, and to go through and recognize all of the things that are contributing to that sort of state of mind, you know, the feeling that we have so many people that we are responsible to, that we have so many things to do, even things, you know, I took a million notes, and you're talking about communication and all of these things that really contribute to that. I just feel, I feel so much more relaxed, even from just doing that one small exercise. And for me, I'm a logical person. I like science. I like logic and reason for things, and I love that, you know, resilience is a scientific thing. And one of the things that we talked about, you and I, is that it's not enough sometimes just to go out for a walk and you know, get rid of the feelings of the moment. It's about, and what you teach and what you're going to teach, I think, in your class is, you know, the ability to recognize it and to be able to maybe deflate those emotions, you know, before they ever take place, which I think is amazing. And yes, I'm looking at Carolyn. Carolyn says, I want in. I'll be there too, Carolyn, so I'll still see you for sure. So, and Barbara has also said that if we get more than 12 people interested in the program, that she would, you know, open up another group as well. So I really hope that everybody takes advantage of this. I think 4 classes for the price that Barb is putting it on, for $97, is well worth it for, you know, for the education that we'll get from you on how to manage these things and how to just strengthen our own abilities in, you know, in our business for sure. So, and in our lives.
I really, thanks Tracy for that, because I really wanted to make this, this is well below what I would normally charge for a group setting, and I really wanted to make it something that was customized and fit for those people. And so I remember speaking with you about relaxation and how people believe that taking the time to relax actually builds resilience, and in fact it doesn't. It helps, but it doesn't actually build resilience, and that's a bit of what you'll find in the lessons that I'll be sharing. Because what really happens is, if you think about relaxation in the last vacation you went on, you thought about going on vacation. There was probably a lot of effort in preparation, and then you went on vacation and you relaxed for a week. But then when you came back, you are right back to where you started. And so you actually weren't building resilience in that time when you were relaxing. So what I want you to understand is how to do that so that you are able to take that bounce after a stressful time.
That's awesome. And yes, exactly. That is one of the analogies you and I had discussed as well. And so it's nice to know that there are, that there are techniques that are available to us to be able to understand how to do that for ourselves. So did you want to open it up for questions?
I do.
And
yes,
anybody is, you're free to put your video on, unmute yourself, anything you would like, rather than just typing into the chat. So we'll see if anybody has any questions. Do you have any questions about the presentation or about the program? Certainly, for sure. So,
yep, happy to answer.
Everybody's all relaxed.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I'm happy if people have questions. We can jump on like this in Zoom, or we can they can send me an email, and I'm happy to respond to those
and
too.
we'll put that information out there. So I want to thank you. I'll just double check here. Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing as you. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I had forgotten actually that you were in Calgary today. So your time zones are all messed up for sure. So I'll make sure that everyone has Barb's contact information as well, and we'll make sure that you get the information about the program. The date to start, Barb, is December 7th,
I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, yeah, I have it here again.
Okay.
So hold on. Is December 12th is the first one, and they are in the evenings. It's 7 p.m. Eastern, December 12th and 19th. So 2 before Christmas and then 2 after Christmas.
I think that's really good to be able to, to manage, even to learn how to manage maybe a little more effectively all of the stress that comes around the holidays. And then the 2 sessions in the new year are really to start you off on a good path for the beginning of January.
And it's like you say, even with the vacation, some of us are off or taking some time off over the holidays. And so it is a good time to sort of regroup after that. So
Janice asked how long the sessions were, and they'll be 60 minutes. And, we may go a little bit longer, and I will record them as well so that you'll be able to have access to in case you weren't able to attend. There'll be some handouts that I'll send off to you by email.
Great. Well, as I say, I so appreciate you being here with us today. I know that you did. It's very clear you did so much homework on the VA industry, and I really appreciate that because it's important to recognize, the things that come into our lives and the things that come into our daily activities. And honestly, I didn't even recognize some of them, thinking of all of those things that are creating. You just think you're running a business and it's, the same as everybody else, but in fact it isn't. And so I really appreciate the effort that you put into that. And I'm really looking forward to the program. Like I said, I'll be there. Looking forward to seeing some of you in there as well. And if you're listening to the recording, because we do have quite a few people who registered for the call, the start date is December 7th. So we do want to make sure that we have everybody registered before then and getting to go from there. So thank you very much. Do you have any last minute tips for us or information that you want to share?
No, I think we've covered it today. I would encourage people to use that technique, inner ease, when they find themselves accelerating down the road, rather than try and put your foot on the brake. If you can just trying to find a way to neutral. I think that's helpful.
That's great. Thank you so much, Barb. I
All
so
right.
appreciate it.
Thank
You have a
you.
great day. Take care, everybody. Thanks
Bye-bye.
again for being here. Bye-bye.